Okay, just in time for my dog to start barking, so hopefully that is not super disruptive for everyone. I am going to wait to watch the audience populate here. But welcome, everyone. As you sign on, do us a favor and let us know where you are joining us from. We'd love to hear it. We'll give you about 1 minute before we go ahead and jump into the content. But say hello, let us know where you're from and what you're hoping to learn today. Nebraska, Sacred Heart, awesome. Welcome, guys. U of M Flint, nice. My dad actually went to school there back in the day. I grew up in the Detroit area, so I know U of M Flint very well. New York, nice. All right, Pepperdine, Cathedral School for Boys. We've got both coasts represented. Love to see that. Amazing. Cool. Well, as folks continue to drop in, let's go ahead and get started. Housekeeping, of course, we got to start with the common questions. So yes, the big one that we always get is that this webinar is being recorded. So you will receive a copy of this recording in your inboxes tomorrow, along with some resources that we reference along the way. The chat's on the right. Many of you have found it by sharing where you're joining us from, so thank you. If you have questions, feel free to drop it in there or the Q&A. I'll be keeping an eye on both. And you don't have to wait until the end. We're happy to answer questions as we go along, as well as answering questions at the very end. So some quick intros. I'm Angela, Director of Marketing at Halda. Great to meet all of you if I haven't seen you in the past. I have been here for almost a year. I'm absolutely loving it. I am both a marketing and AI enthusiast, and I'm thrilled to talk to you today about AI search, site search, I should say. Granit's going to cover AI search in general, and I will turn things over to him for a quick intro, and then he'll get into his slides, his portion of this lovely discussion today. Oh no, you're still muted. We've been having some issues with Granite sound, so apologies if that persists, but we will continue to try to work around it.
So weird.
There we go. Now we can hear you.
I can. Oh, perfect. Well, I hope this is the last time, but it's been happening. Hi everyone, my name is Granit, one of the co-founders of Manaferra. Been doing SEO for the past 15 years. It started to get boring, and then GEO came. So that's what we are going to talk about today: AI search. Excited with everything that's happening in our field, and looking forward to share some interesting stuff about how you can make your school show up in these answers.
Perfect. Awesome. All right. I am going to pull my slides down and turn things over to you.
Perfect. So, as I was saying,
Oh no, we lost you again.
is it working now?
Yes.
I'm so sorry, everyone. It happens when you don't want it to happen. So, as I was saying, ChatGPT decided to change everything, and search, as we know it, is changing. We have been used to seeing Google the only place where people go to ask questions, people go to discover information. While Google is still a big player, and we expect that to continue to be the case because they have a lot of great talent in there, we see new plans coming into the field. ChatGPT is the one that we are going to focus today, and we are going to talk about how do we dominate there. Like similarly to how when we said about when we do SEO, we do SEO for Google. Right now, when we are thinking about GEO and optimizing for AI search, we are mostly thinking about ChatGPT. The reason is it's by far the kind of like the platform with the most usage and the platform that's generated the most traffic, most conversions across all the schools that we work with, and I think others are seeing similar results as well. So we are going to focus on that and talk about how do we optimize to show up in those answers, because it's important. It's the way how students are searching is changing, and AI is changing that. It's not just changing how they search, it's changing how they discover schools and why they choose those schools. So today we are going to talk about what's happening, what matters, and what we should be doing next. When we think about how students used to search, they used to go on Google and type short phrases, keyword phrases like MBA Boston hybrid. Today they go and they're on platforms like ChatGPT and they're asking questions like, what's the best MBA in Boston for working parents? The difference here is that these type of questions and how they're searching, it's more conversational and it's contextual. Students aren't using keywords, they're asking questions. And that means that our jobs as higher ed marketers is shifting from optimizing for algorithms to actually answering like a trusted human. We at Manaferra surveyed 1,500 recently enrolled students on how they ask LLMs like ChatGPT and Perplexity during their college search. And what we found out was fascinating. They're going to ChatGPT and they're asking things around program details like tuition, requirements, deadlines. They're interested in rankings, who's the best school and why, about student life, like what it's really like. They're interested about career outcomes. What job can I get with this degree? So they're not just using AI to research, they're using AI to decide. And I believe this changes everything, because when we think about the traditional student journey, it was and still is sequential, it's tedious, and it's fragmented. AI improves this a lot because AI journey is immersive. It's personalized. ChatGPT knows us very well. We've been using it for over a year now, and when we ask questions, we get personalized results, and it's comprehensive. For us as institutions to benefit from that, there is a catch. We need to actually be in those answers, and it's a bit of work. And when we think about like how search used to be, it used to be simple. We had the 10 blue links, and it started to evolve. The search features like map packs, feature snippets, YouTube results, they all added value, but I believe that they cluttered the results. And now we have AI overviews that are answering the questions, the search, and users are skipping links entirely. You see 40 to 60% decrease in click-through rate, so traffic is plummeting across different verticals. Higher ed is not an exception here. The good news is that we were never in the business of getting traffic. We were never in the business of getting clicks. We did SEO, and now we are going to do GEO because we want to get in front of students who are interested in the programs that we offer. And we want to show up when they're searching for those programs. And these AI overviews and all these different places and features is just another channel where we want to be visible. And the good news is that we can be visible. We can influence those answers if we understand how they're generated. You've heard a lot of terms. GEO is the one that I think the industry is settling in. Like you've heard AEO, LLMO, and some others. We're having a moment as an industry. But GEO stands for Generative Engine Optimization, and I believe is the natural evolution of SEO, search engine optimization. There is a slight difference here. We are not optimizing for a search engine to list our school. We are optimizing for an AI model to mention our brand. And our brand or school wins when it's the one being mentioned inside the answer. So that's GEO. That's how we win. So how do we get there? We are going to give you a 7-step playbook on how to rank number one in AI search. And it's not rocket science. And there it is. It starts obviously by understanding our target audience, listening to the students, what they're asking, what they're searching, and making sure that we have the answers for them. And those answers are clear answers. We want also our school or brand to be discoverable, to be mentioned on the web, because these LLMs, they train their models and they learn from the web, from the content out there. So this is important. And we want to make sure that we're also like measuring, tracking everything, like seeing what the impact is. And it's important. This is a new channel. We need to do experimentation. We need to work with other teams to collaborate and to repeat all this, because it's not a one-time thing. We need to continuously work on this and refine it and improve it to get the best results out of it. So how do we do that? How do we rank number one in ChatGPT? First, we need to understand what the audience is searching there, what our audience is asking there. And unfortunately, these LLMs, ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity, and others, they don't provide that information to us for various reasons. Privacy, commercial reasons, and I don't think that's going to change in the future. With SEO, with Google, we have Google Search Console, which is a great source, and we can go and see our website and all the terms that our website appeared in Google search results when people searched for relevant stuff that we offer. And I think that's a great place. That's a great data point to use when we are building a list of topics that people could be searching on LLMs, because these are the same people that are Googling, that are going to places like Reddit and Quora, that are going to ChatGPT and asking questions. So since we don't have the actual prompts that they use, the alternative is like seeing what they're asking on Reddit, work with your admission team, and if you can get call transcriptions and emails, that's a great source of data. Look at people also ask. AI mode is a great source. You can play with it and you can see what follow-up questions it's suggesting. And the idea is that we use all these data points to come up with the most likely prompt someone would use when they would search for a topic that we are interested in showing up. Again, Reddit and Quora, it's a gold mine of data. Those same people who search on ChatGPT, they go and ask questions on Reddit. So you can see also like the more conversational type of questions versus the more keyword-driven type of searches that we get from Google, and like we use and combine all of this data and create a list of prompts that are important for us. Like, let's call this the target prompts. Next, actually, before we go to the prompts, this is like still like a list of keywords, a list of questions. We need to convert these into prompts. And what we did to make this easier for you, we created this custom GPT. You can scan the QR code. The link is here on the slides, and we'll be sharing the slides after the webinar. But basically how it works is that you upload or paste a list of keywords, and it generates a list of prompts that are based on those keywords. And here's the thing, it's never going to be the exact prompt someone uses. Maybe someone is using the exact phrasing and like we have it generated here, but that's not the goal. The goal is to be directionally correct. So are we covering the core topic of the question? And we'll target it and attack it from different angles, and then we'll see who's showing up there. So basically that's the goal, that's the aim. Once we have the list of target prompts, we need to understand and know we know what's being asked. Then it's about answering those questions. And LLMs, they love structured and complete answers. Users do as well. So if our MBA program page isn't talking about how long does it take and what's the cost, we are not giving the LLM model a lot of reasons to mention us, because they're not just listing us as one of the programs, as one of the schools. They're also like providing context to their users. So we need to feed them with data. We need to feed them with content. Think like FAQ markups or short paragraphs or direct statements. All of these have been known to impact your visibility and your mention rate positively in LLMs like ChatGPT. So we have the target prompts. We are making a great effort to answer those prompts, to make sure that we have the content, we're providing that content. Then it's about like, how do we have like building the authority to show up in these LLMs. Now let's look at this example. The prompt here is affordable accelerated BSM for working nurses, and we have Western governors ranking in the first position. Now this is interesting because when you enter this prompt in ChatGPT, what it does, it runs a search, and it generates the answer for you based on the sources that it found out there in the search. And when we look at Western governors here, what we're seeing is a site that I'm willing to bet none from the audience here in the webinar has heard about it before. We have Free Dash Education Hub, a no-name, not well-known authority, but it's actually being pulled as a source, as the reason why Western governance is showing up. And when you click on this link, what you'll see is this is actually like a listicle. Best affordable online nursing programs for working professionals, and it lists a bunch of schools. And the reason why I'm mentioning this is to tell you that LLMs, they are smart, but they are also lazy. So they're not willing to go and create their own list and do all the research that you need to do to actually come up with the best programs. What they'll do is they'll go and see who else has answered this question. And these listicles usually do that. And they'll see like what are the schools that are mentioned the most often in these listicles, and they'll just kind of like use those as a data source to link. Like if you have a lot of these listicles, a lot of these mentions, it's very likely that your program is going to show up here. Obviously, how your program is described and other factors are impacted by the content that you have on your site and other places that talk about you. But these mentions offsite, they have a lot of weight right now in kind of like getting you to show up for specific prompts. So we have the prompts, we're answering those questions, and we are building these mentions because they help with authority, they help with being like another signal that these LLMs are using to determine who should be part of an answer. We need to measure all of this work and how that's translated to actual results. And my recommendation is you want to track this in your Google Analytics. So you want to have like a new segment for AI traffic itself, but also you want to track prompts themselves. So you can use off-the-shelf platforms like Profound and PKI and others. What we've done at our agency is like we use this off-the-shelf platform, but we've actually built some custom tools as well. Like this is like a simple tool. It's a Google Sheet. It's connected through API to ChatGPT, and we just list the questions, and it pulls the answers, it pulls the sources, it pulls the like. It's able to segment the institutions, and then we also like give it like we give a name who would be like the client, and then you would see where that client ranks there, and then we have the date, and we feed all of this information to a Looker Studio report, generate reports. We use more AI to generate more high-level executive reports and all of that, but that is, you don't need to go in this detail. You can start small. You can do it manually at first. You have the list of prompts that you're tracking. You can just go manually. I would recommend incognito and run the key prompts and record who's showing up. And one keynote here is that you're not tracking position necessarily. You're more interested in presence. Are you showing up? Because your goal at this stage is to increase your share of visibility over time. And then the fun part actually starts. It's the experimentation, because we provided you with like a checklist of things that you need to do, but things are moving fast, and every prompt, every answer is kind of like is unique, and you want to run experiments. You pick one program, you pick one prompt, and you test different angles. Maybe it's adding more student outcomes. Maybe it's adding more testimonials. Maybe it's updating the FAQs that's going to get you to show up. and then share your learnings with other teams like admission, content, and PR, because GEO isn't a silo. It's a team sport. And you want to iterate fast. The algorithms are changing monthly. And one of the benefits, the reason why I'm excited about GEO is because for decades we've had certain players who were smart, who were early, and who built a strong presence in organic results, and they dominated organic search results. So the only way for most of the schools to actually show up was to pay their way through Google Ads. Now, I'm not against Google Ads, but I believe that as an industry, we've been neglecting organic search results for a long time. And this is a great opening. This is a great opportunity for us to actually be early, be the first, and start to own the prompts, start to own the answers. And the more you experiment, the more you iterate, the more you learn, that will be your advantage. And that's going to help you for years and maybe decades to come. Couple of other things that I want to talk about on this webinar is admission content. I'll talk a bit about Reddit and AI content itself. Now, admission content is interesting because I believe all of us, we always knew these pages were important, but we never thought about them as the type of pages that we would optimize them for discovery. Today, those pages, they have the data that AI needs the most, because we saw from our research that students are going on AI search and they're asking about requirements, deadlines, tuition, acceptance criteria, and the pages that answer that, those are the admission pages. These are high intent questions that admission pages answer. Now, we need to make sure that our data is structured clearly, and because that increases our chances of being cited as a trusted source on AI answers. And as institutions, we want to own this type of prompts, and we want to monitor this type of prompts, because we want to make sure, first of all, that the content is up to date. We don't have any hallucinations or misleading information or showing up there, because it's going to impact. Students are using AI to search, they trust it, so we want to make sure that we are also like having visibility and understanding what's being said about this other part of the search, not just the transactional part when they're searching for a specific program or a school. So things like, can apply with a 2.8 GPA, does financial aid cover online programs, what's the deadline for 25? We want to see what's happening here. Another thing that is very important is Reddit. I believe as a platform, it has a ton of potential. At Manaferra, we are big fans of the platform, and we believe it has a lot of influence in the student journey. But when we focus just on the AI search, we have, like, I don't know how many of you are aware, but for, I think it's almost 2 years now, Google is paying Reddit $60 million a year for content licensing. Google was the first one, then ChatGPT and OpenAI followed, and other LLMs as well. And the reason for that is because Reddit has all that first-party authentic content that these LLMs need to train their models on. It's another interesting thing that happened when Google did this deal with Reddit is Reddit started to do very well on SEO. It started to crush it in rankings and to show up for almost any search. So today, after Google and YouTube, Reddit is the third most visited site in the US, and it has surpassed Facebook. And ChatGPT is now in the top 10 as well. So it's important to keep an eye on Reddit to understand that as a platform, it's important. When people are searching about our school and different, like at different stages, ChatGPT, Gemini, all of these are pulling from Reddit. So we need to know how we're being discussed and what's being said about us in our programs in that platform. And the last thing that I want to talk about today is why AI-generated content doesn't work. Now, I'm a fan of using AI to be more efficient, to work faster. I'm not a fan when I see people thinking that you can replace thought leadership content, editorial content with just AI-generated content, because purely like it just doesn't work. Like, I love this study by Graphite. They analyzed millions of URLs. They segmented content that was written like with pure AI, content that was written 100% by human. They were able to segment content that had a bit of AI, but it was mostly human written, and the opposite, mostly AI and a bit of human content in there. And what they saw with their data is the content that performs the best is the human written content, followed by mixed, which is low AI and mostly human created. So your approach when it comes to AI content should be use it to create the first draft, use it to brainstorm, and then have a human actually bring it home, because we provide the first party data. We are the expert voices. We can bring named authors to contribute to our content. And that is what makes content really great, and great content will perform. So you'll see that to do all of this, it's not rocket science. It is doable. I believe it is doable by in-house teams, but you need collaboration. You need collaboration with marketing, communication, and academic units. Choose 2 to 3 degree programs and start to pilot this approach. You want to measure visibility and make sure your analytics are set up correctly, because you'll want to see if this is working or not. And yeah, you have to be consistent. You have to build credibility through off-site mentions, and you have to see how other platforms impact your AI search results. And doing all of that will earn you that visibility that we're going after in AI search. And you'll have students arriving on your site. And when that happens, what do? This is where Halda transforms your visibility into enrollment intelligence. And I'll have Angela share more about that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Granit. I'm going to do a quick switcheroo here with the slides. There we go. Okay, I know that was a lot of information, and I'm going to hit you with just a little bit more. So now, as Granit mentioned, we're going to talk about what you can do with all that wonderful traffic that comes to your website with offsite AI search, and the solution that we're going to talk about is onsite AI search. So instead of showing you anonymous traffic data, onsite AI search captures intent, which is a nice callback to some of the questions that Granit shared earlier. So you can see real questions that are being asked by your prospective students on your website. From there, you can export all of that juicy data to uncover some trends and themes, which is actually something that we partnered with Manaferra to do with one of our partners, Siena University. There's a lovely blog post about that if you missed it, but we'll include that in the resources that we share after this webinar with you tomorrow. We're also going to come back to that in a little bit. But first, I want to really lean into the shift that we're talking about from anonymous traffic to real questions. So if you are using Google Search Console or something similar, that's great. Definitely continue to do that. But those tools are only going to tell you how students are finding you, and they're not going to tell you what they actually came to find. So I am going to show you really quickly a look at what AI search looks like and how it works from the student perspective. So it surfaces answers for you based on information that you populate using your website as a knowledge base. So this little example here, this is from the back end, so it's going to look a little different from normal, but you see that we have this search bar with some recommended searches. It does some thinking. It can personalize results based on previous behavior and activity on the website. And then once it's done thinking, it gives, sorry about that. Happy fingers. Let me skip ahead for you. Let's bring it back. Quick little demo. Get to do that song and dance again. And let's see if I can be quick enough with my pause button this time. There we go. So you see the AI summary up at the top. You also have the ability to ask follow-up questions, which is pretty cool because they can essentially have a conversation with your website. And then there are some additional results below. And then for you on the back end, you'll see the search terms and questions that they're inputting, volume for those search terms. So you'll see hierarchically which are the most common, and then the users behind those searches, which is very, very handy. And so to come back to what we did with our partner, Sienna, we looked at over 500 search queries from their AI search. And this shows the kinds of questions that students ask once they arrive on site, which is a much deeper look at their pain points, where they might be getting stuck, than you're going to get from initial offsite search and what you're going to see with things like keywords and phrases. So these might seem small individually, but when you tie them all together, you start to see a really robust story about what the enrollment journey looks like for each student. And then when we analyze those 500 responses, and again, this is a shout out to Granite for doing all that great work, we uncovered 5 distinct themes. And this is an exercise that you can do pretty easily by exporting your own data, pulling them into ChatGPT or your LLM of choice, and then having it pull themes together for you. And you may actually see a very similar picture to what we saw with Sienna. But when you look at this, you get way better insight for prioritizing your content than a list of keywords and phrases are going to provide to you. So, as you think about how to use this information, we've got 5 steps for you. We talked about grouping the questions by themes. From there, you can map them to the content that you have and also identify some content that might be missing so that you can very intentionally fill those gaps. You can optimize for AI discoverability, as we already talked about, and then make sure that you're tracking engagement in addition to overall traffic, because you want to make sure that this is making your site nice and sticky. And then we had a little bit of a plot twist that popped up. And you may have seen this if you have something like this in place and you've looked at your own site searches, but you can also get some pretty solid nuggets of information from your current students too. So even though that may not be the primary audience for your website, it's still highly likely that those searches are happening. So, as you're thinking about building out a knowledge base to respond to these types of questions, you want to make sure that you keep this audience in mind too. So, what we love about this approach at Halda is that it aligns very beautifully with the way that we work, which is to put students at the center. So, instead of building your content strategy around opinions by a bunch of adults in a meeting, which we know is something that has a tendency to happen, your AI search can give you really solid data that shows you what prospective students actually want, what they need, and what they're looking for. So, to bring it all together, as you just saw, Manaferra can do a really incredible job helping you to get found in AI search and maintain that visibility. Once the students get to you, AI site search can help you uncover student intent information and identify and resolve any gaps that you might have with your content. And when you bring those things together, you get some really solid momentum for your enrollment funnel. So here's our TLDR. To recap, everything has changed about school search, but you knew that. That's why you're here. But the good news is that GEO is like SEO's cousin. So they're related, but they're very different. So fortunately, what helps with one can kind of help with the other. Definitely don't abandon your SEO strategy. That's still important. This is just another variable that you have to incorporate into your planning. Your program pages and admissions content can be really, really helpful, but you don't want to forget about things like Reddit and those external mentions as levers to pull for GEO. And on-site search data can, or on-site AI search data, I should say, can help you move mountains with your content, which is really incredible. As a content creator myself, I know that that's something that can be really useful. Now, before we get into questions, we have a couple action items for you. If you would like a free AI search visibility audit from Manaferra, you can use this QR code on the left. And if you'd like to book an AI strategy call with us, you can use the QR code on the right. As Granite mentioned, we are going to be sharing these slides with you tomorrow. So keep an eye on your inboxes when you get the recap with the recording. And that is that. We will take your questions now. So I'm going to pop over here. Oh, Chris is asking if anyone is having trouble connecting. I hope not, but if so, the great news is that we've got you covered with the recording. So we have one question, and Granite, I'm going to give this one to you that came through about 5 minutes ago. Do you have a recommendation on JSON LD? Does including structured data from the page in this format make a meaningful difference? Very technical, but I love it.
I love this question. It's a great question. I would say, David, that this is actually the preferred way of including structured data. instead of trying to code it in line by line. That is like a very manual and tiring process. So JSON LD is the way to go. And all the research and the data that we've seen, structured data helps with SEO. A good SEO foundation has a kind of like clear correlation with doing well in AI search as well. Because for a lot of the prompts, what ChatGPT is doing is it's going to Google actually through a third-party site and is making a couple searches and seeing who's showing up there, scraping all that content, and then generating an answer for you. So if you're ranking on Google, it's very likely that you'll make it on the ChatGPT answer as well. This is where the correlation comes from. In terms of like directly when ChatGPT comes to your site and they see the structured data, does it help? No, because they're just reading the content. They're not executing the JavaScript or doing any of that. They're just looking at the HTML. So like, it doesn't help there, but it helps with SEO. SEO helps with GEO, and that is where everything is kind of like connected. I hope this answered your question. Okay, should the page headings be in a it helps. Like you always when you're writing content on your site, you want to write content and create sites and pages for the user first. And when you have like a specific clear question and the directly like you add the answer immediately after the question, you add the answer directly, that helps with that answer, that snippet of text, like being picked up by Google's AI overview or ChatGPT as well. So like being concise, being direct, works really well in AI search.
That's great. Okay, I am just looking at some of the advanced questions to make sure that we covered them all, which I believe we did. Okay.
I'm glad my internet worked fine while I was
Me
presenting.
too. I am so glad that the sound stayed with us. Are there any other? We did cover everything in the advanced questions. Oh, here's another in the Q&A. Oh, this is an easy one. What's the difference between AEO and GEO? There isn't
There's no
one.
difference.
There is no difference. They
No.
are the same. So as it turns out, GEO is a topic of many names right now. But one of the things that Granite shared, right, is that we're thinking that GEO is emerging as the victor in terms of becoming the more widely adopted term. But there is no difference. They are the same thing. They refer to the same thing.
Yeah, I have nothing to add. This sums it up.
Other questions from the audience before we wrap? I can't believe we got through so much so quickly. I'm proud of us. We did it. It's a lot of content to cover and a big topic.
But if anyone has any other questions, feel free to email me, add me on LinkedIn. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions AI search related.
Granite's a great resource. Oh, this is a good one. Guidance on influencing leadership on the importance of AI for marketing and admissions. Buy-in is tough sometimes. I think we can both tackle this one. This is a big one. Gosh, I have a lot of strong feelings about this, so I'm going to try to keep it brief. I will say that as a marketer, whenever I have tried to push a boulder up the hill from a leadership adoption standpoint, the absolute biggest thing that I have found to be most effective is data. And so the more data you can present that shows not just how AI is being adopted in our industry, which Jackie, I'm not sure if you're in higher ed or K-12. We did have a AI adoption survey that we did back in earlier in the fall. So definitely take a look at our website for that. We can include it in the resources for you tomorrow as well. But there's an increasing amount of data out there around AI adoption for students. There's RNL's expectation survey and lots of others. And so typically when people in leadership, especially, we'll use our industry specifically, if the students and prospective families are using it and your peers are using it, it makes it a lot harder to say no. And a lot harder to push back. So I would say arm yourself with data, get involved in some of the groups in our community. There's the AI in college admissions special interest group through NACAC. That's a great one. And I'm sure there are lots of others that I'm probably not thinking about, but find the other enthusiasts and champions too, so that you can do some knowledge sharing. But I would say number one, data, data, data. The more data that you can present that shows just how much of a thing AI has become, it's not 2022 anymore. Adoption is increasing by the day. The tools are changing constantly, and I worry that the folks that are still kind of sitting on the fence and thinking it's a fad are going to get left behind.
Yeah, this is a great answer. The only thing that I'll add to it is that, and I agree with Angela, like data is everything, and this is why it's very important that you have data tracking set up properly on your GA for your Google Analytics, because like one of the data points that you could share with your kind of like leadership is conversion rate from AI search from ChatGPT is like 4 times higher than what you get from organic search. So that is one thing. Traffic that's coming from AI search has kind of like has a stronger intent, and it's a simpler explanation for that. They've done all the research. They've asked all the questions. So when they're clicking on that link on ChatGPT, they're ready to convert. They're ready to take the next action. So it's very important to be visible, because that the traffic, that those clicks that are coming from ChatGPT, wherever they're going with a high intent to convert. One. The second thing is, I believe that we shouldn't approach this just from the transactional part of it. Like this is how it helps us, like with leads and applications, because we saw that ChatGPT is being used at different stages for different reasons. And like one of the things that I've seen work really well when you're explaining to leadership is like first we want to make sure that there is no misleading or outdated information out there. So this is why it's important that we spend some resources to see how we're doing, what's being said about us, how we are being described out there. And then like when those answers are generated and our school is being mentioned, who else is being mentioned, and how they're comparing us to them, that also like helps with those discussions. And but you need to have data, you need to track data, you need to have the prompts, you need to have the answers, you need to say that this is what's kind of like what's the situation out there in the AI results. And I believe that when you have this data and when you are able to generate a report out of this data, that will help build the case that at least they give you the resources to just start tracking and start kind of like understand what's happening. Not optimization, but just kind of like understanding as a first step.
That's great. Another question, I think this one's for you, Granite, from Adam. He's curious about the tool that you showed where you connected to a Google Sheet through an API and built a chart with ChatGPT. Is that a proprietary tool you offer or something anyone could build to analyze data? I think that was the visibility audit?
Yeah, I mean the visibility audit, that will be whoever scans the QR code and signs up for that. That what we do there is like we talk to you, understand what are the most important programs for you, and then identify a list of initial prompts, pull the answers, and generate a high level report about how you're doing, who else is being mentioned, and tackle it from different angles. It's a great resource actually, also for discussing this with other team members and people in the leadership. But in your specific for your specific question, the sheet I showed, I actually like I wipe coded it. So I'm not a kind of like a developer, but basically you can ask ChatGPT, and I'm going to share the URL with Angela, and she'll include it on the tomorrow's email for the template, you can just make a copy. It uses apps script. Basically, like, you don't need to write the code yourselves. And you'll have a menu item appearing in your Google Sheet, and all you need to do is you need to sign up for the Open AI's API and buy like $10 of credits. Because with Profound, you're spending $100 a month to track 25, 50 questions. With this, you can track 500 questions 4 times a month, and it's going to cost you like $3. So very cheap, because we built this for ourselves. We track thousands, and we're getting to the tens of thousands of prompts that we're tracking and analyzing for some upcoming projects. But it helps you to like skip the manual process of going and entering the prompts, and like just do this automatically through an API. And it's like you need to pay for the credits, but it's like $10, and you'll lose those $10 for 6 months to pull
Yeah.
answers if you're just pulling like 50 or 100 answers a month. And yeah, we'll share the template with you, the exact template that I showed in the slides, and you'll just make a copy, enter the API, and list the prompts, and you'll get the answers.
That's awesome. That's a great resource. Okay, last call for questions before we wrap. And as Granite mentioned, you are welcome to reach out to either of us. Find us on LinkedIn, send us a connection invite. We could talk about this stuff all day. So it doesn't have to stop the conversation here, where our DMs are open. Cool. Well, thanks everybody who joined us this afternoon / late morning, depending on where you are. And for those of you who hung out with us through the Q&A, we definitely appreciate having you here and the really thoughtful questions. Again, this has been recorded, so a copy of this recording, the slides, and some additional resources will be hitting your inboxes tomorrow. And we encourage you to keep your eye on those inboxes too for more invites for future webinars. We love hanging out with you and sharing some great information. So thanks again. And thank you, Granite, for joining us.
Thank you all.